league from week number 7, or from week number 6, excuse me. We'll be going over the first round of playoffs in the Arbiter division. We'll also be having a look ahead towards our week 7 matchups. And of course, we'll take a look at the current standings with some teams already qualified for those playoffs. I'm your host, Crewmann44. We have some more glorious guests here in the lounge to share their thoughts as we move into the last quarter of the regular season for most of the league. Guys, please introduce yourselves with your IGN, your team, your role, and please share your thoughts on your squad's current outlook on that postseason, how you're currently feeling in that regard. Coming to you first, Storm.
Hey everyone, I'm Storm. I'm the mid laner for New Origins Phoenix. Obviously, I can't complain very much. We're going in 6-0. Currently, we could lose out, and I'm still pretty sure we lock first place, so we may be seeing some interesting choices.
Interesting indeed. That's what we're here for. Great to have you as always, Storm. And we have Bubble back. Bubble, welcome. Or you're not Bubble anymore.
Yeah, hi.
Bubble's gone.
Wait, can you guys hear me?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, okay, I'm Greg said, but some people know me as Bubble. I had to change it, but that's another problem. But yeah, I'm the mid laner for Contingent Esport Purple, and yeah, I wasn't able to be there last week, and I think the other one, but I'm here today, and I'm excited to speak to you guys.
Yeah, great to have you back as well, Graguset.
Thanks.
Cherrie, we have you up next, I believe.
Hello, my name is Cherrie. I am the jungler for Dorado Gaming Kai in Warden. Um, I don't know how to do maths, but we've won a lot more than we've lost, I think, probably, hopefully, maybe.
That's
And I
very
think
true.
are we in first right now? Yeah,
You
we
are.
once we give ID the win back, we'll be tied with Akuma. So yeah, that's probably good. Yeah.
Seems good. I think we've got Choockles up next. Am I
What
pronouncing
up,
that correct?
everybody? It's Choockles. I'm the top
My bad.
laner for. You're good. I'm the top laner for Jolly Rogers Black Pearl. We've had a rough split so far, but we won the playoff game that we were getting into, and it's looking good so far.
Excellent, excellent. Last but not least,
Hi, I'm Aspect of Noxus, top laner for OTL Obsidian, the only undefeated team in all of LXC.
is that actually true? We'll get to that later. But great to have you here, Noxus. Of course, I got to cast your game last week, and you were also on a cast yourself. But great to have you here. First time on the podcast this season, so great to have you here for some insights today. We're actually going to be going in reverse order for this episode. Our guest Cherrie here does have a hard out this week once again, so we're going to go ahead and start with the Warden League. So taking a look at what we have here, the results from last week. Cherrie, we did get to cast your match. That was Dorado, your squad, taking down Contingent Esports 2-1, and what did end up being a pretty close contest. But did you want to reflect on that match at all, Cherrie?
Yeah, definitely. Last week our team actually played two matches, or at least since you guys have seen me, we have played two matches.
Yeah,
We 2-1 Contingent Esports Black, and we 2-1. There's three like UKN Cryptic, I believe
that's
they
right.
were
Yeah,
called. They were both 2-1s, which means they're a close series. They felt very different. I know Contingent Esports Black it felt it was a good series to win because Contingent was our former org that we left due to ideological differences perhaps, and so good to take their lunch money. I mean that was a very close series. It was back and forth, as in, we stomped them one game and then they stomped us, and then it was a close game three. Um, I definitely have a lot of respect for most of them as players. There's that one guy that locked Yumi twice in a row.
that did
I don't,
happen.
you know, that's a little. I'm not a big fan of the Yumi champion, so unfortunately, don't respect that part of it. But besides that, it was a very good, very fun, very close series. Our series against UKN on Tuesday, I actually had the pleasure of being able to see their point of view after the series, and it was very enlightening. They seem like lovely people. Just their view on like how to play League of Legends is very strange,
I
perhaps.
see.
I going through the entire early game, they just kept like, they're in commentary like, guys, we have to reduce variance. We have to reduce variance. And in their mind, reducing variance is, like, oh guys, we're the better players. We have the better macro. We're gonna just win late game. But in reality, it translated to let's play like bitches for 20 minutes and hope the enemy team fucks up. It was interesting to really get in the mind of League of Legends players that um think differently than you. I watched a Syndra go Seraph's Zanya's into alternative Zyrelia, drop like 40 CS, and he was like, well, I didn't get solo killed, so I did my job in handling the Irelia. As Alex, like, he crushed like every other wave and then just walked around the map killing the rest of his team. But no, it wasn't the Syndra's fault. He reduced the variance. So I mean, they
Yeah.
both were 2-1 series. I mean, to their credit, they were good at reducing variance. The one game they won, they sort of just waited for me and my mid laner to run it down a bunch of times, which we did run it down. I was, we do that sometimes, a lot of times, in fact. That is sort of our brand. But yeah, both 2-1 series. One was closer than the other, as in Contingent is a lot better of a team than UKN. And I think in terms of postseason prospects, I think Contingent should, you know, be have their heads held high, and I think UKN perhaps needs to go back to the drawing board or like the solo queue and just like grind out some more lane phases or something. It was very interesting. I learned a
Yeah.
lot.
Glad to hear that, Cherry, that you're able to take some learnings away from that one.
Yeah.
So remember, we were taking a look at the stats for UK and Cryptic last week as well. We were noticing that they had like
Yeah, they,
the
they like
crazy number
word
of
everything.
wards.
They word everything and it
Yeah,
just
yeah.
does not matter, bro.
So
We're
we were,
spending like
we saw
9,000
that in
gold on
action.
fucking control words. And to do what? To watch us walk in and kill you? Like, oh my god, I'm sick to my fucking stomach, man.
Oh wow.
It's so disgusting. It's so disgusting. What am I playing against? Peels put a control ward in one bush and it revealed 4 sight wards. That's not normal. That's not okay. This is a PS, like, we need to spend our money on other things.
Well, UK and
Sorry.
Cryptic still doing relatively quite all right. Do you feel strongly, Cherry? Yeah, that's absolutely fine. That's why we want you here on the podcast to share your honest feelings with us. So we very
Yeah,
much
I was
appreciate
just
it.
I was just thinking about like how much money was being like, think of like how many Rabadon's death caps that is, you know? And I really like Rabadon's death. It's a cool hat that gives you a lot of
That is pretty
damage.
cool.
It is a very cool hat.
Yeah.
Now okay, but now this makes me think like who has UKN beat, because that
Ooh.
raises some other questions. So we're
They've
gonna go
beaten
through this.
plenty of people. They have 4 whole wins.
Yeah, that's they
What about
beat
the
definitely
Tangle
not
Force group?
Aether,
Yeah.
which I don't know who those people are, but my condolences to them. Did they win last week?
They did lose out to you guys, obviously, and then it looks like they did lose out to the Goofy Gooners as well this past week, according to the previous results
No,
here.
it seems like they beat Goofy Gooners,
Did they? Oh.
which okay, don't know who they are, but yikes, perhaps. Um, I remember they did originally 2-1 ID Ignite. The comp rolling reversed it to a 2-0, but I think that's functionally useless in terms of standings. So, I mean, they beat ID Ignite, who did beat us. So I guess by like the transitive property, they must be better than us, right? Real. It's real.
Yeah, there was unfortunately the competitive ruling against ID Ignite. I don't know if production, if you want me to like read that out, but it's in the Discord. If anybody missed that somehow, definitely go check that out. But yes, that did kind of play a big hand, and because of the competitive ruling against ID Ignite and some of those wins being reversed, then that match, Cherry, that you ended up playing against Contingent ended up being even more of a swing in the standings than it otherwise would have been. You actually, because of the results being reversed, you ended up going into that match one game ahead of Contingent, and then the fact that you won as well did end up putting you at the top of the standings. But we're going to get into that more a little bit later. For now, let's go ahead and move on. We're going to take a look at some of these win screens from that match that we were just discussing, Cherry, this match against Contingent that you played. So taking a look at game number 1 first here. If there's anything, let's come to some other people first, as you've already shared some of your thoughts, Cherry. We'll come back to you as well, of course. But Storm, what's jumping out at you immediately from this first win screen?
I mean, looking at the comps here, Dorado's comp in isolation is just much easier to execute than Contingent Black. Like, I see the world of what they're thinking here, of you're trying to get Kled in with Swain, to be able to just kind of play that bully front line using that Kled ult to really just kind of break fight lines. But your issue is you still have to like get through Ornn, and Kled at 2 items is not doing a damn thing to Ornn.
Yeah.
Shout out to my boy Kodo over there on the Varus, trying his absolute best to get through him. He's my little New Origins hero right now, just due to his little catchphrase. But I mean, overall, this is just a really hard comp for Contingent to get off the ground if they're not winning early, just because it really revolves around them being able to kind of just stat check and play with their wallet. And if they can't do that, it becomes very hard to really just out DPS through Corki, Mel, and Lilia.
Yeah, definitely. I think that what you said about them kind of needing to play for the early game ended up being a pretty consistent theme, if I recall correctly, throughout the series. But Graguset, let's come to you next. Our one of our resident mid laners, of course. As we have a lot of mid laners, I'm kind of realizing that. But if we zoom in on the mid lane matchup, Swain versus Corki. Storm was already discussing, sort of the situation with the Kled for us. But what would be your expectations with that mid lane matchup, and then seeing how the game played out? What are your thoughts there?
I think personally, early game, Corki can just shit on Swain, but it really depends on like how good the Swain is. But I think late game, like overall, like Storm said with Kled, Sejuani, Varus, Yumi, I just think overall Swain is just better, but turns out like with Mel and Corki, they just oh shit, I didn't see Mel is 15-3, so
Yeah.
yeah, that
I think you cut off there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
Gargus
Mic
sits
check.
down. Well,
Rest
Cherrie,
in
is there
peace.
anything else you wanted to add about this first game? Obviously, just before we lost Graguset, she was commenting on the fact that Baywa got 15 kills on the Melon this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think we touched on the Swain pick. I think my thoughts on this draft is that the Swain pick is like utter dog shit, and I don't know why they did it.
oh, I'm so sorry, my headset just disconnected. So I was
Welcome back.
talking alone.
Welcome back.
I'm
Do you want to
so
finish your
sorry.
thought?
Wait, what did you hear?
You were just noticing the fact that Baywa had gotten 15 kills.
Oh yeah. So I think that's I think Mel was a big problem, so the team was able to just step up with her and just stomp everyone. So yeah. I'm so sorry.
You're good. No worries. And then, Cherry, did you want to finish your thought?
Yeah, I think the Swain pick is really bad because I mean we have shown that we can play Melbot in the past, and we left, that mid bot pairing flexible until 5, and they locked Swain into us, and where, if we chose to send the Mel mid, we get a good matchup. It also gives us the opportunity to pick something like the Quirky. I feel like Swain is not a giga like turbo tank, especially with this super low damage build. He sort of presses R, walks at us, and then we ignore him and kill his friends, which is how it went. I mean, their top laner was a Kled one trick, and we just like didn't really care. So we
Yeah.
just gave him Kled all these 3 games. I mean, Swordwalker went Sedge, and he sat inside lanes and tried to pick up kills with the Kled, which was, I mean, he was sort of the only one doing anything on the team. The Varus got strong after one team fight, and then Varus became like a threat, but obviously like Varus Yumi is not a proactive lane. That's more of a hook the enemy can't kill you in
But I do
team
have a
fight
question
lane.
for you, Cherry.
Yeah, what's up?
In draft, did your team pick Mel as a flex? Like,
Yeah,
okay, okay,
Mel is flexible mid bot.
okay.
So
That's why. Maybe they
yeah,
didn't know she was mid or bot.
yeah. I mean, we've played it bot a bunch as well, and obviously like Mel is quintessentially a mid laner, so having that
I
flexibility.
prefer her
But
bot though. I think she's stronger bot.
yeah,
So
but we have
obviously we don't have the draft links. Did they pick Swain into Mel?
Yeah.
so the draft was Varus 1, and then we went Mel Ornn. They went They went Sejuani, Kled 2-3. I locked Lilia on 3, and then we
So they
forward
didn't know.
Leona. Yeah, we
Right,
forward Leona, and
they
then they
held
went
the
Swain
Malflex, yeah.
Yumi. Yeah, they went Swain Yumi 4-5, and then we picked Corki on 5.
Okay.
Swain in a game where Mel's in it is fucking criminal.
I will
Yeah,
say that Baywa also played Mel in the previous match as well, right? I guess that was that against UK and Cryptic, or maybe it was the
I
week
believe
before.
so. It was UK and
Um,
Cryptic.
But yeah, I mean, Contingent Black maybe predicting that the Mel was going to go bot lane and then feeling like the Swain would be fine as long as he didn't have to lane against it, but obviously did not work out for them whatsoever. And we were definitely bemoaning on the cast as well the fact for the side of Contingent Black, the fact that they put Source Walker on a tank in this game, and they pretty highly prioritized the Sejuani as well. We felt like he was one of the main carries on this squad, and he was getting all of the kills. You can see the Sejuani had 7 kills in this one in the early game, and then just wasn't really able to transition that into very much.
They also
Against Dora.
3-phase banned me first phase, which is like,
They
sure,
did, yeah.
that's a lot of glazing, to be
Jesus.
honest. I don't deserve that. Go ban my teammates, they're better.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at our game 2 win screen now. I want to get our other guests to chime in here. So Choockles, taking a look at this game 2 win screen. This was, of course, the game that Contingent did manage to win against Cherrie's squad. So besides that, what is jumping out at you from this win screen, Choockles?
Can you just tell me where to find it? I don't have the
Oh, yes.
VOD open.
So if you look at the podcast live chat text
Yep.
channel, you can scroll up just a little bit. You're going to find the Warden slides that Vish
Yeah.
posted in here. So you're
Yeah.
going to click on that, and it's going to be just underneath the previous week's results. We're on the win screens right there. It's going to be the second one.
Game 2.
Game 2. Hold
Mhm.
on. Sorry. So the Warden slides you said?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
With the
only-
Cyan mid.
That's
Yeah,
absolutely right.
Cyanid's gotta be criminal.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not able to find it, but could you just tell me who the top lane picks are?
Sure, yeah. It was Fish, the Kled one trick, was
Mhm.
playing as Kled once again, and then the for the side of Dorado, they were playing Aurora that game for Peels.
Okay. I mean the matchup, Kled doesn't do well into kite champions. Sure, he has a lot of dive access, but Aurora's W kind of mitigates a lot of that, and Aurora's ability to kind of escape him. I think it's very hard for Kled to make a way. Kled wants to get kills early game in the laning phase, and if he's not able to do that, he sort of falls off. He can't get enough stats to remain a frontliner. So I think it's really difficult if he's not able to get ahead or snowball.
He went 7-0 though.
He did, in fact, snowball, yes.
Okay.
So it kind of worked out for him in this case. But how about you, Aspect? We still need to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this game 2 win screen? What's jumping out at you?
So what's jumping out at me is the fact that the Kled and this terrible matchup for him is able to get 7-0. Obviously, didn't watch the game, but if he got those kills in lane, then that's gotta feel really bad for Dorado.
Yeah, I mean, the Aurora only died 3 times, as we can see there. So certainly it wasn't like Peels was just feeding or anything like that. It
Yeah.
really was, if I recall correctly, Fish making some good roams and some proactive plays. I think it was around the grubs. Maybe the Kled picked up a couple of kills. I actually don't recall exactly. We'll get Cherrie to possibly refresh our memories in just a moment here.
Yeah, because like what really irks me about this is the fact that the Kled was able to get according to this win screen, he was able to get he had the massive lead, not a single person on Dorado. Of course, they lost the game, so obviously they're not gonna have a lot of gold among them. He had more gold than the whole entire team, and he has a decent amount of damage too. He has second most damage. So
Yeah.
what wonders me is that was it just him being able to get the roams off and get this early lead on the Kled, or Dorado just overstaying and overstepping and then just getting caught out by their whole team?
Yeah, you can see it did end up being a very fast game, the second one as well, less than 27 minutes, and the Nexus did end up exploding. But Cherrie, let's come back to you. Obviously, this one didn't really end up working out for you and the rest of the squad. If you want to share your thoughts on this one, how did the Kled get his lead exactly?
I feel like Kled getting a lead was like secondary to how the game went. I feel like all three
Mm.
games were really determined on how specifically like the bot 2v2 ended up playing out. And what happens is we sort of left peels on an island, and then we tried to like fight around bot side, and then we lost the bot side fights. And so once we're like down in gold, then Kled can like go pressure top and then ult to like mid fights from
Yeah.
top, and then pick up the gold there, pretty much. I mean, we've ran it the
Yeah.
fuck down low key, and
This was a rough one, yeah.
when we have like champions like Ash and like Rel and like Bell and Aurora who want to fight, and we're not exactly like built for like hyper carry, hyper scaling. I mean, they're the team with the enchanter, so if we fall behind early, the only solution is to just fight again, and then obviously we're down gold, so we didn't win that fight again. It's better, in my opinion. I think it's always better to fight your way out of a scenario if you don't outscale them than to just like sit there and
Yeah.
bleed.
I would have to agree. I think it probably all went wrong for you as soon as they warded you out and you weren't able to take enemy raptors as your first camp.
Oh,
As the
I was
Bel'Veth, right?
I was never planning to do that.
Oh,
I
okay.
just
Never
wanted
mind.
I just wanted them to think I was gonna do that. Oh, yeah, I mean the thing about
Mm.
like Bel'Veth and like this happens a lot on like Bel'Veth and other reset champions like Viego, where if they're not ahead and they're not able to get their like that quintessential first kill in a fight, they don't really do anything in
Mhm.
terms of damage. Like Bel'Veth's like whole thing is like she wants to assassinate one person, reset off the rest, and then go take ISO duels on the rest of the fight. And when you're behind and you don't actually win that 1v1, it's really, really hard. I mean, I just spent that entire game once we were behind. I just tried to spend it like in their jungle looking for like flanks and like miracle angles because we were very behind very, very, very quickly.
Can
So
I
because go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. Can I
Go right
ask the
ahead.
thought process behind the Bel'Veth pick? Just because I mean they locked in Varus Gwen, which Varus
Bell
pretty
beats
long
Gwen.
range, and Gwen has got very safe dueling. So I just want to understand.
Yeah, I'm Bell is like the quintessential Gwen matchup. I mean, the Gwen picks this game and next game are takeaways from me because I needed to ban Mel, and so their solution to not letting me get Gwen is to pick it because we didn't want to be
Hmm.
wanted for. I guess I probably could have just B1'd at this game and called it a day. I think we'd B1'd Aurora or something for Pyro since you're scared they'd take it. But yeah, I mean, Bell fights Gwen and it gives us early physical damage. It's not good into Kled because you can't fight the Kled and it really doesn't do much to Scion. But into specifically Gwen Varus, it is fine. Varus is damage like percent HP damage, so if you're playing the duel against him, you just E his like WQ, and you should be getting your damage off fast enough that that is fine. And then in the 1v1 versus Gwen, it's just really hard for her to hit you with her stuff. So
Okay.
you win 1v1 in most of like game states.
Worth
Thank you.
mentioning that Sourcewalker has played Gwen in previous weeks against other opponents as well. So
Yeah.
certainly, I think in part it was a pick away from you, definitely, right, Cherry? But
Yeah.
worth mentioning, I think, that Sourcewalker has
Yeah,
played it
I mean
against
it
other
fits his
opponents.
style, so it like makes sense for him to take it away from me. Because
The only
he's
other
like
thing, oh,
he's
go
good
ahead,
at
sorry.
farming and like scaling
Definitely.
up and doing all that. And Gwen is like that type of champion.
Fits his style more than Sejuani, right?
Well, okay, he has like two modes. He has this like full clear everything mode, and then he has this like go sit and like top try and just like sit next to his laner and hope that a fight happens. And he does that on Sedge and he does it on like Maokai as well. But there's no like middle ground. And I think well there's that's not like a judgment, that's just like an observation. But he does play like util champs like Sedge and like
Fair
Maokai.
enough.
I feel like he plays Jax more like a full clearer than like a util though, which I think is the correct way to do it.
For sure.
Yeah. So it's like between game one and game two, he sort of just like flipped that like switch in his brain, which I mean makes sense. If I had played Sejuani and I went 7-3 and 9 and my team ran it the fuck down, that's also what I would do. So like respect. That's
Yeah,
a real
yeah.
motherfucker right there.
Well, we spent a lot of time on this game too already, but there's one last thing I really wanted to ask you about, Cherry, and that is, of course, the hull breaker. if you want to explain
Yeah, so
the Hullbreaker.
how Hullbreaker passive works, and you've seen Hullbreaker on AD carry build sometimes, like there was an Ashe build, there was a Jinx build. Hullbreaker is triggered every 5th auto attack, and each Belveth E proc counts as a single auto attack, and depending on how much attack speed you have, it goes anywhere from like 7 to around like, upwards of like 7, so you're getting basically a bunch of Hullbreaker procs on it. A lot of the time, second item, you go Stridebreaker, but that's when you have the luxury to kill things and things are actually running away from you.
Mm,
No one's really running away from me here because they are stronger than me. So
right.
you basically just get more Hullbreaker procs. I mean, ever since they reworked that item, I mean, everyone still thinks of Hullbreaker. They shelve it in their mind as that like split push item, and yes, it does have damage to towers. And for Belveth, that is kind of useful because if you get ahead and you get your grubs and whatever, you are going to be hitting the towers with your little dudes that you spawn on each wave.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
ultimately, like the reason we see Hullbreaker in this build and the reason we see Hullbreaker built on some AD carries as well. I mean, not recently, but like a few patches ago, I'd see like Kraken Hullbreaker Jinx a munch, and it is just because of that like combat power, because you're just getting a high flat number of auto attacks out, you're proccing that passive.
All right, good to know. Yeah, I that does make sense. Um, obviously, I do remember you trying to do a little bit of split pushing, I think, towards the end of this game as well. Obviously, it didn't end up working out, but thankfully for you and the rest of the squad, Cherry, you did take the win in game number 3. We take a quick look at this one as well. And this one, you briefly mentioned earlier also, Cherry, that this last game was definitely the most competitive out of the 3 that you played in this match. But able to take the win around 35 minutes here. If you, anything you want to share about this game, you're on the Wukong.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
right.
I think an important piece of context to the entire series is that for those of you that saw the stream and like the 90 million pauses that were happening,
Mm.
Contingent's mid laner and my support and top laner had all been like permanent, like randomly disconnecting slash having like very high ping. And so I think that really showed itself by game 3, because by game 3, their mid laner's on Sion and my top laner's on Ornn and my support's on Lulu. And those seemed like the easiest champions in role to play on like a million ping. We got
Yeah,
to game 3, and I mean, game 1 was decided by bot lane, game 2 was decided by bot lane. So I mean, I think ultimately we have faith in Bewa that he is going to just be better than the enemy bot lane. So we drafted to put resources into him. They did this Kled Scion thing again, which is cool. Wukong's a better champion into it because I can clone and I can tank a Kled ult, or I can clone and I can tank a Scion ult. And ultimately that is what ended up deciding the game. I mean, Sourcewalker, I know he's just gonna take Gwen again, and he's gonna farm my camps, and I just have to sit there and be okay with it because my job is to sit in front of my AD carry and then also occasionally press R. And I sat in front of my AD carry and I pressed R, and then my AD carry killed them all in one. So like, we
that's
won.
absolutely right.
I
And
don't feel like
we
a winner,
did.
but we won.
We did interview Baywa actually after this match as well, and he did give you the shout out, Cherry, for doing what had to be done in this game to get your squad the win. So you did get that recognition, well deserved, of course. But for now, let's go ahead and take a look at the matchups that we have upcoming here for week number 7. So your squad is going to be going up against DNL. So what are your thoughts heading into that one, Cherry?
Um, DNL. Let me refresh
Definitely
myself
not
on
lit.
who
They are
these
three
guys.
and three right now.
Oh, it's this. Okay, they're bad. Okay, we'll be fine.
Uh,
All right,
Genuinely, I think
2-0
like
then.
yeah. And when I was like on contingent, I was like, haha, yeah, we'll beat them. But like, I like remember. I mean, I call them the good contingent team, right? Like, I think they're good. I don't think DNL is like good. No, we'll be fine. Yeah. I
Well,
mean, if we end up 2-1ing them, I will consider that a disappointment to myself personally, is what I would
okay.
say.
We'll definitely keep an eye on that matchup. See if you're going to be able to make good on that, Cherry. But Contingent Black, the team that you just took down this past Thursday, is going to be going up against the Death Knights, who seem to be surging a little bit. They did pick up a win last week, so that might be interesting to watch as well. Any other matchups here, Cherry, that you'd like to point out as being especially interesting?
With the The Death Knights lost Vendor, and Vendor was good. And now that they don't have Vendor, they don't have IE Hadiz, I don't know how to pronounce it, but they pretty much do not have a good AD carry anymore.
Hmm.
So I think, and especially since Contingent's not bad, uh, that is that'll be rough for them. Looking at the schedule, this week 7 schedule. Honestly, I think the most interesting match is No Direction versus Contingent Esports Orange that got rescheduled to this week.
Oh.
No Direction, we played them, we smashed them, but they replaced their bad players with better players. So hopefully they'll be able to win. I don't think is Contingent even like real. What is their roster now? They what? It's like Astro Smash. They have like Sky mid, which okay. I haven't seen him play mid. He's a good AD carry. I don't know if he can play mid. I think this is like it's kind of do or die for No Direction,
It
and
is.
I feel like this is an easy opportunity for them to do instead of die, perhaps.
Yeah,
Just
obviously, Contingent Orange is unfortunately winless over there in Sector 2, still at
yeah.
0 and 5. So, yeah, it seems like definitely potentially a winnable match for New Origin Direction, but NO Direction are going to need to win both of their last matches in Week 7 and Week 8, and I believe they're going to need either Contingent Black or Team Death Knights Blue to, or yeah, either one of those teams to drop their last couple of matches as well for the Direction squad to actually get their way into the postseason. But let's take a look now in that match that you were just mentioning, Cherrie, between New Origin Direction and Contingent Orange is going to be played Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Just to mention that as well.
Yep.
Let's, for now, go ahead and take a look at some stats that we have. It's going to be our streamed match for Warden that we have coming up for this week. Storm, coming to you first, of course, for the stats. Anything you want to point out here?
I think it's actually kind of interesting how close these teams are in their average vision for how far behind Aethers tends to be in most of their games. Especially like when you're looking at Akuma, entire team KD almost at 4 at the 3.7 compared to Aethers at 1.8. Still, while in those losing states, being able to contest and keep vision up on their sides of the map to try to protect their early game and give themselves an avenue back into the game should be an important part for them to keep trying to focus on. And other than that, like you're punching up. It is what it is. Um, but it's definitely a little David versus Goliath kind of matchup here. But hopefully, definitely not can pull something out of the hat and try to even it up.
Yeah, for definitely not Aether. You know, they are, I believe, locked out of the postseason. There's no way for them to get in. Also sitting at 0 wins still, unfortunately. And Akuma, as you say, Storm, has been doing relatively well, sitting in second place over there in Sector 1 at the moment, just behind Cherry Squad, just behind Dorado Kai.
This is a fun learning lesson, Crewmann. I noticed you say it on streams a lot. It's Akuma, not Akuma.
My bad.
There we
Akuma.
go. It's okay.
Okay,
But yeah,
appreciate that. Thank you.
Akuma had a very rough like early start to the season. They lost to No Direction, which honestly like I still don't know how that one happened, to be honest. And they had another loss like by week 3, but since then they've just been hitting like win after win after win after win after win. And in the same way that I think Bewa is like an AD carry that is leagues above the rest of the table, I also think like X Fluke is at that, same tier, that same level. Especially now that Vendor is ranked out, I think that those Bewa and Fluke are like the two really good AD carries that are good enough to just like 1v9 most Warden League games, which is why I'm really excited to see them play against each other when we play Akuma in week 8. But I think, I mean, now that they seem to have hit their stride, I think X Fluke will run their pockets.
Yeah, it's hard to predict anything else, right? Given what these teams have shown us so far this season. We'll have to see. Should be an interesting match to keep our eyes on regardless. Let's go ahead and take a look at the current standings for now for Sector 1. Cherrie, of course, your squad now at 5-1 after all of the standings shuffling that happened with the competitive ruling and all that. Anything else? Any other teams here, Cherrie, that you're still keeping an eye on? You know, Akuma, obviously, right behind you there at 4-2, likely going to pick up another win this week over the Aether squad.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is going to be us versus Akuma for that top spot, and then all of the teams that are currently at 3 wins sort of fighting to keep their spot. I think ID Ignite, they get their win back, and all of that should be in a good position to threaten. I think specifically Team Death Knight spot because of all of the roster changes that happened there. I think they're the team that is most likely to drop down to either No Direction or ID Ignite. Um, yeah, um, Sector 2 is boring since two of the teams are worthless, but Sector
Ooh.
1 is interesting playoff wise, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, who did you say you were predicting to make the playoffs or not make the playoffs? I guess I should say.
I think if Team Death Knights Blue cannot find like an 80 carry, I think they're gonna struggle. I think if they get a player that's, I mean, at least close enough to Vendor or Ihadi's level, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll make playoffs. But with these, with the current uncertainty, right? They don't have a, I believe they don't have a replacement slotted in yet. That is, if I am No Direction or if I'm ID Ignite, that's who I'm looking at to, that's whose downfall I'm preying on. Also, maybe definitely not
Yeah.
lit because I think compared to Contingent Esports Black or Team Death Knights Blue with a real AD carry, I think definitely not lit is like the imposter in that group of three.
Well, according to the graphic here, as we can see, the stars on the right-hand side there, I believe, indicate that the playoff spot is actually locked. So I
Oh
think
yeah, I
that
guess I'm gonna
DNL
have to do it.
are locked in there.
Yeah,
Not sure
let's
why
see.
that is exactly, because they do have the same record as Contingent Black and TDK Blue, but
We'll see. It's probably some like matchup math that I'm.
mhm,
So then yeah, I guess then they have to prey on TDK's.
is the head-to-head. Yeah, that's the reason.
Uh,
But let's go ahead and take a quick look at those Sector 2 standings here as well. Cherry, you did already say that unfortunately a couple of the teams don't have a chance anymore at making it into the
I mean,
playoffs.
it's like
So,
mathematically, right? Are they
right, yeah.
actually?
Well, yeah, it looks like
Maybe actually no, because there are 3 matches. No, they're not.
that's
There are only two
true. They
weeks
don't
left. So
have,
yeah, no, they're cooked. They're
but
fried.
they only have 5 out of 6 games listed in the standings. Yeah, everybody else in this sector has 6 total matches played, but it looks like
Oh,
those teams at the bottom both only have 5 for whatever reason.
oh, so maybe
So
they
there's no
are
reschedule
saved.
there as
Yo,
well.
and okay. So I guess if they do lock in, then they can win. I mean, I'd like it to be interesting for them. I feel like it'd be boring if we're the only side that has to stress out of playoff stuff.
We believe.
So
We believe.
Yeah, it looks like we did have yeah, so both of those teams still need to play their matches from last week. Those matches are both going to be happening on Tuesday as well. So we'll have to see. Obviously, both of those squads, definitely not Aether and Contingent Esports Orange, are going to need to win everything from here on if they want to have a chance at getting that spot away from the Goofy Gooners. But I think that's going to do it for our coverage of the Warden League. Cherry, I know you
yeah,
have to be out here pretty soon, so let's just
I
give you
do.
your shout outs.
Yeah, I do have to head out. I'd like to shout out my team again for putting up with me, and then I'd like to shout out myself for locking Wukong for Beiwa. Um, before I go, remember reduce variance. That's apparently the way to win League of Legends games. Goodbye, everyone.
Perfect.
Bye bye.
Remember to reduce that variance, guys. Very important. But let's go ahead and move on over. What else is important is, of course, the Arbiter League. That's what we're going to be taking a look at next. And we do have, of course, our resident Choockles. I believe you're our
Greatest
Arbiter
top laner in the league.
representative.
Hell,
Fantastic,
what?
fantastic. Uh, and you did pick up the win. So taking a look at the playoff bracket first here. Obviously, the first round was played last week. That was your squad, Choockles, taking the win over Tactical Freeze after you had just lost to them in the last week of the regular season. So what really allowed you to turn things around and pick up the more important win here in the playoffs?
I think a lot of it was the collision between teammates, of course, is a big thing to get over. But once you kind of get past that stride, you're able to pick up games and win them with more ease. Um, it was we were really stuck in mental boom beforehand, but I think we all took a little bit of a break, and that allowed us to come back and win this week one play-ins.
Nice, glad to hear that. So you're just getting a little bit more comfortable playing with one another as a team, and that absolutely is of course very important for actually being able to pick up those wins in the competitive environment. You are going to be
Mhm.
going up against, as we can see here, you're going to be going up against TD Harmony in the next round, which is obviously a very tough opponent, one that you also were not
Oh
able to
yeah.
take down in the regular season.
Yeah.
I'll
Uh,
say good luck to you because it's a great team. Honestly,
Mhm,
they play
mhm.
very well. Frost in the mid lane. Oh my goodness.
well, I guess let's jump over to you for now, Bubble. So you obviously lost out to TD Harmony. I believe that was the
Yeah.
last match of the regular season for you.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and we didn't have you on the show last week to share what went wrong. So if you want to talk to us now about how that match went and what our friend Choockles here really needs to look out for.
I mean, the game one was pretty winnable. I was playing Lissandra against Yone, and that was, I mean, I miscalled Yone when he was going bust, so he got a double kill, and that was a little bit. It was super fed at this point, and I tried my best to just like to farm, get some shutdowns, get picks, and it was pretty winnable. I can say that in that game, uh, I was like the big damage of the game, but turns out like with the CC chain, and we just lost the last fight, and that was over. But that was a pretty close one. Second game, wait, I don't remember the second game.
You
but
blocked it out.
but I know there was another one. I was playing. It was against Huey. I was playing Ari, and but honestly, the mid laner, so Frost, as like he had the map control like almost every games. So I mean, for me, that was a really rough matchup to play against him. But I just
Ooh, yeah.
I just know like I just can say that I learned a lot from those games. I learned like how they play, and so I'm sure for the playoffs, that's gonna be okay. And if we face him, I think
Mhm.
we will. But yeah, just
Not if Choockles has anything to say about
be
it.
careful to to the mid laner. Honestly, even the top is good too.
Oh,
Wait,
we don't have to worry about that.
yeah, you're a top laner, right?
But what are your thoughts then? Having heard Bubbles' experience, how are you feeling heading into that matchup, Choockles?
I mean, our previous bout that we had with TD Harmony was very rough for us. Indeed, their mid laner definitely has a lot of strengths that we've been looking into it, seeing how to counter and stuff. We won't go too specific into strategy, of course. Um, Overall, they play very well as a team, but I think if you take out one of the pawns, then the king will fall.
All right. Very interesting. We'll see if you're going to be able to take down the king, as it were. But Bubble, your matchup next week, you're going to be going up against TD Chrono Break. That's a squad that you did manage to take down in the regular season. So how are you feeling about your first postseason bout that's coming up here?
To be honest, I will not be able to play tomorrow.
Oh, unfortunate.
Yeah,
Well,
so
is the team
Track will
confident?
sub for me. Um, but yeah, I'm sure they're pretty confident about this matchup. And I think with Track in the mid lane, that would be fine. And I wish them just best of luck, honestly. But I'm sure they will manage to beat them again.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of these win screens now, because we do have the drafts as well. I don't know if we want to pull up the drafts first and then look at the win screens. I guess that would be the correct order of operations. Is that something that we can have on the stream, or are the drafts here? Ah, that's just for our benefit. I see. Okay. So we'll just go ahead and jump straight to those win screens. We do have game number one here. Obviously, your squad, Choockles, was able to pick up the win in this first game. You were on the gangplank in this one with a big old
Mhm.
goose egg in the
Oh,
death
Gangplank.
column. Looks like a great game for you in this one. So what happened here? How did things go so very well for you?
Well, I mean, their top laner just wasn't really bullying enough. The Yone Gangplank matchup isn't too terrible since he's rather squishy and you just need a couple items to snowball. Um, but it mainly came down to map pressure. I mean, our mid laner was just everywhere that he needed to be, and with Gangplank Global, even if I was losing in CS or losing in experience, we were able to get so much pressure in the bot side of the map that we were able to snowball that lead. And then our team comp played really well for Gangplank. With the amount of CC, it was very easy to chain barrel combos into getting kills and gold, and we just kind of won through a huge gold lead.
Yeah, you did end up with
Mm.
by far the most damage in this one as well. You know, taking a look at that stat, pretty
Mm-hmm.
nice to see. And then looking at the draft here as well, looks like they had the Yone for OSG was picked on B3, and then you took the Gangplank on R4. Were you expecting that Yone to go into the top lane, or what were kind of your
Um,
thoughts there with the Gangplank lock-in?
I was kind of I thought so it might be Yone. I didn't know that Billy played Yone or not, but I knew that Matrix does play Yone, so that kind of helped me guide whether my decision making. But Gangplank in general is a really safe blind pick. His Q passive lets him get so much gold that if he goes even, he's winning. So it's generally a good blind pick to pick into matchups where you're not quite sure where they're flexing the opponent's picks.
Yeah, makes sense. For any of the rest of my guests here, anything that's jumping out at you in this windscreen, or anything you wanted to ask Choockles about?
100% disagree with Gangplank's a blindable champion.
Well, he was just
um,
saying he kind of suspected he could be against the Yone, right?
yeah. I mean, if you're worried about the Yone matchup is like kind of free, just because unironically, Yone's being so squishy early, you actually don't have to hit barrels. You can kind of just whittle them down with Q and just
Mm-hmm.
trial by fire autos from just proccing barrel. Um, so Yone really has to play with the wave properly to really punish you, and that's just not something that's going to happen in Arbiter.
Yeah, I mean, it
But
was very. I hit. It was very easy to get grass procs off, and then once I got Sheen, it just kind of
yeah,
snowballed out of control as well.
but it's also OSG's entire comp here is really bad at dealing with Diana Galio,
Mm-hmm.
especially once Diana gets that lead. Because really, all Diana in this game has to do is wait for um not Diana, the Zyra root to come out, and once that's got down, Diana is just full engaging on you.
Yeah.
And like, don't get me wrong, the Zyra ult disengage kind of sucks, but Galio ult's going to eat almost all of the damage from it. On top of the fact, this Zyra's like playing on food stamps.
Yeah. I mean, even in the game, we saw our. I mean, our jungler got picked off, but the Galio ult was able to turn everything, and we led it into the destroying the Nexus. Another thing to add onto the picking GP was we were gonna flex. We knew we had the Galio, so we were gonna flex it. Either I go mid and he goes top, or etc. Just to give me the Yone matchup and to give him the AP matchup, since we knew they
Yeah,
had Jin Yone.
makes sense. Well, it looks like you also went for the Gangplank here in game number 2 as well, Choockles. You actually prioritized it even more in the draft. You took it on the R3 this time, with definitely not seeing your matchup this time. This was for sure the blind plank, the blind pirate, and
Mm-hmm.
didn't end up going so well for you this time. Matrix ended up countering you with the Ambessa. So where did it all go wrong in this second game?
This second game was a bit difficult. Mainly, the laning phase wasn't too rough, but we picked a couple of bad team fights that just kind of let the top laner snowball. There was a couple moments where I would try and stop them, and I died after I not realizing their lead. Arbiter mistake. Uh, but also a big reason we lost this game was our mid laner's power went out, so
Oh
we were
no,
playing 4-man, so
I
that was a
see.
huge contributor, as you can see with the gold leads and stuff like that. That's probably the biggest reason why we lost.
Yeah, well, that's a big one. That's definitely a big one. Um, but able to bounce back in game number 3. So I guess the power returned, or you got a different mid laner.
Yeah, we had a sub in, so actually throughout this
Ah, I
whole
see.
series, the 2 games we won, we only had access to 3 band or 4 bands. No, 3 bands because we had to give away 2 bands. So the two
Because of the
games
sub?
because of the sub, and then the first game we didn't lock in our draft quick enough, so they penalized us for that as well.
Okay, yeah.
Hmm
That's
Interesting.
unfortunate.
Grago
Rule
said, "What's
bookers out
jumping
here.
out here?" Oh, go ahead. What was that, Storm?
So just a bunch of rule bookers out here.
Yeah.
Following the rules, so lame, right?
Yeah.
But Grago set here for this game 3 win screen. What's jumping out at you? What would you like to ask Choockles about here?
Death Mic goes crazy. Holy.
Did we lose Grago set again?
Rest in peace.
Aspect or Storm, you guys have anything here for this game 3 win screen that
Well.
you find especially interesting?
Yeah, definitely.
Wait, my headset goes off again.
Let's let Aspect go
Okay.
first, and then we'll come back to you, Grago set.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
So this game went 30 minutes. You want to tell me why it went 30 minutes?
Why did it go 30 minutes? That's a good question. I think it's probably you could blame it on just Arbiter. We were
That's not no.
we were also
Nice.
playing with the sub, so that caused a lot of miscommunication. I think a decent amount of us were tilted. Although the stats don't look like it, the early game was fairly rough. We didn't get a lot of our lead till much later in the around the probably 15-20 minute mark. At which point, it's just play for Baron and Atacon to gain that advantage.
Yeah. I see you guys got
sense.
feet. What feats did you actually be able to get in this game? Like
What?
are feet something you
Oh,
guys were playing for indefinitely, or
so obviously the goal is to keep objective control on the map. And the other two games we didn't get the feats. This game, just because they picked the Aurora top for Rumble, it's a fairly easy matchup, and we had the Corki and the Galio, another easy matchup. We had a lot more map control over the objectives, and then
Oh.
Tower I think it was Tower that we got was fairly easy to fall because of the poke from MF. I think we got bot tower first after a dive with the Diana ult.
yeah, I mean, I can almost believe that Diana could have just camped bot side. I mean, like you gotta give props to your support. Had like a couple more wards put down, they would have had triple digit wards at 85 vision score. So
Oh, definitely. Playing with Sapphire is you learn a lot about what's going around on the map for sure. And her rotations have been really good this season. And her game IQ of what the other opponent's trying to do really allows us to make plays farther in the future than our enemy opponents.
absolutely.
It's a shame that we don't have Cherrie here still, so she could chime in about how much she loves Vision. I know she's really passionate
Oh yeah,
about
she loves
wards
that.
and vision control.
Loves that.
But Grago said, let's hear from you. What's jumping out at you in this game 3 win screen?
Wait, I don't see it. Wait.
Should be in the Arbiter slides, just
Yeah.
the little section right below the first playoff bracket there.
It's also just in the podcast live chat. Vish posted
Also
it for
true.
us.
Well, we have the first 2 games here. Oh, this is
Oh, we have
from TD Harmony versus Contingent Purple. This was Bubbles match that we have
So
posted.
game 3?
Yeah, game 3 between Tactical Friesen and JR Black Pearl.
I don't.
Yeah, I think your top matchup was pretty easy. Honestly.
Yeah, it was.
Even the bot lane, they went well. 7-1. Real and MF are a crazy combo actually.
I mean, look at the
I love
damage
it.
charts: 4,000 damage on Kaisa, 20,000 damage on MF.
Yeah.
That's crazy actually.
Yeah.
It looks like they tried to pick away the Galio from you in this one as well, but I guess they weren't able to find that same level of success with it that you guys had in game number 1.
Did you
Yeah.
counterpick Aurora or no?
Aurora, yeah, we did.
Okay.
We
That's
figured
why.
since they banned the GP and we knew that they played Aurora and we knew Billy didn't play Aurora, that it was kind of obvious where she was going to go with that pick.
Yeah, OSG locked in their entire top side with the first 3 picks on blue side in that last game.
It's
Interesting.
a very free matchup for Rumble. He's got, too much going on in his kit for lock down and chase that it's just hard for Aurora to match the
Yeah.
build.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look now at some stats that we've got for your next upcoming matchup, Choockles. You're going to be playing against TD Harmony. We'll come to you again, Storm, to start us off for this one. Pretty similar in the games played there, but obviously a bit of a KDA advantage over there for the undefeated TD Harmony squad. What's jumping out at you, Storm?
Obviously, like KDAs are always going to be huge, especially in IBSG. Just being able to get your gold leads and then not throw them in low reloads is a skill of its own. Even when I was down in the trenches, I'd struggled with it. So I 100% feel that. TD Harmony's actually the same way we were talking about control wards, and has actually played one more game than Black Pearl, but has less than half of their pink wards.
Wow, pretty wild, yeah.
That's kind of crazy because it means one of two things. Either one, this team is just hand checking people on repeat, or they're controlling the map in such a way in most game states where they're not having to recontest vision retakes a lot, which can be kind of a scary thing to think about because that means the jungler's perma playing into you, which means in draft you need to be able to start picking kind of these skirmisher comps that can say, hey, I'm just going to take a fight in this tri-brush area early game because that's what we drafted to do, and lose a little bit of that value that you're going to have in 5v5 just to be able to contest this team earlier in the game to maybe knock them off their rhythm.
A bubble or a Graguset, sorry, excuse me.
You can call me Bubble if you want. It's just
You're fine with either.
yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll go with Graguset. That's clearly I'm sure you changed your name for a reason. But
Yeah.
obviously, with your experience playing against this TD Harmony squad, which side of that do you feel like is more true? Storm was positing a couple of different ideas there. Do you feel like TD Harmony just basically control the map for the entire game, and for that reason they don't need to place wards because they control all of the important parts of the map anyways? Or is it more like they don't have the vision but they just walk in and win fights anyways? What's your kind of read on this TD Harmony squad?
I think they have a good rotation, and they always have prio on everything. So yes, they don't use it, they don't have a lot of vision, but overall, the rotation is good, and they have the exact perfect word to have, so it's okay for them. And they play with the mid laners, so you can rotate everywhere to make sure that all objective, all fights, all everything is set up. So yeah.
So they're big brain enough basically to know where their
Yeah, big
opponents are
brain.
without even placing the wards.
Yeah.
Pretty intimidating.
Yeah,
Aspect,
a
I
little
want to hear
bit.
Aspect, I want to hear from you as well. What's jumping out at you with these stats?
For these windscreens? Or are these windscreens
We're
the
looking at the stats now between TD Harmony versus Jolly Rogers Black Pearl, the head-to-head stats that we've got just below the windscreens.
Yeah. Gotcha. Sorry. I was
No worries.
looking at some stuff for OTL. Alright. Obviously it's gonna look obviously because TD Harmony completely just ran Sentinel Arbiter, their stats are gonna look hella inflated. But Black Pearl, ideally, they're pretty close in some of these aspects. Although, if they want to win these games, they really got to work on the amount of times they die. Because if they die this many times at TD Harmony, especially if Frost gets these perma scaling champions that have high kills on them, then they're just gonna lose the games easy, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, less than 30-minute games. If they don't get these deaths under control. But they do place a good amount of control wards, which is good, but also if they're placing that many control wards, then where's the rest of the gold for these control wards going? Obviously we don't have the person that hates vision score here anymore, but maybe some of that vision score, like she said, could be used to buy some important items and spikes that you guys might need to actively win these team fights to keep these deaths down.
Yeah, it was definitely a big thing our coach and us worked on was the amount of deaths. I think there's a lot of ego involved. I myself am clearly guilty of this. In our scrims that we had with, or not scrims, but the games that we had with TD Harmony, I built leads top lane and then would throw them to the mid laner, which would cause us to then lose the game. So it's definitely a work on the amount of gold you're giving the enemy team that we've kind of honed in on doing less of.
Gotcha.
Makes sense. Well, definitely excited to see Choockles, how you're going to be able to fare against TD Harmony in this next matchup that you've got coming up. We'll take another quick look at the playoff bracket as just to see, you know, have a little bit of a look ahead there as well. So the winner of TD Harmony versus JR Black Pearl is going to move on to the winners bracket final. And then, of course, we do have the double elimination here in Arbiter League, the only league, I believe, that does have that double elimination playoff bracket. So the loser is going to go down to the lower bracket, where they will face the loser of TD Chrono Break versus Contingent Esports Purple, with the winner of that match, of course, joining the upper bracket final. And I believe that is going to do it for our coverage of the Arbiter League, unless, Graguset, want to give you the last word, and if you had anything else to add.
Just I will say good luck to my team tomorrow against TD Chrono Break. I'm sure they will just pop off and win this playoffs for me. And after that, I will see them for next week. For week what, 4? Yeah, 4.
Will be
Against who? I don't know.
something like that, yeah.
I do
But
have
then,
Yeah.
one more. I do have one more quick question once she's done.
go ahead,
Mhm.
Aspect.
I'm done.
Well, Choockles, this is more of a question for you and your team.
Sure thing.
So how's the how's your team feel about Toxin? Since some people in the stream who may or may not be on your team think that Toxin is just going to run and it's going to be easy. What do you think about that?
I mean, we're a very like misfit group of people with a lot of life experience in different areas. We kind of understand Toxin's mindset of how to play the game. It's very reserved until pop off late game. So if we just can keep him down, which we're gonna do, obviously, we're Black Pearl. You got Choockles on the squad. It shouldn't be a problem to consider.
Choockles, I
Okay.
believe you do also have somewhere to be tonight. You're going to head
Yeah.
out soon as well. So go ahead and give us your shout outs.
Shout out to Black Pearl. Shout out to all my teammates. Shout out to my coach, Tal Roma. Really helped us clean up our game and be an exciting playoff run. Peace, everybody.
Yeah.
Peace.
Thank you for joining us, Choockles. Appreciate that Tal Roma shout out as well. Of course, we had him on the show. I believe that was our first episode of the season we had Tal Roma on. But yes, Choockles, thank you very much. Feel free to head out whenever you do need to. And then Raguset, actually, did you have somewhere to be as well?
Yeah, I mean, I work early tomorrow, so I'll need to leave too. But yeah, I will say my shout out too. So I mean, I already said it. So shout out to my team for tomorrow. I hope they will win, and thank you for having me tonight. And I will be there, obviously, for the next podcast.
You'll be there.
And yeah, I'll be there. So yeah, so everybody have a great night, and thank you.
Thank you. And you'll be there no matter what. We'll hold you to it, Graguset.
Yeah,
Yes,
no
feel free
matter
to head.
what, I'm there.
Sounds good. But yeah, both of you guys feel free to head out whenever you need to. And then for now, it looks like yeah, everybody's got some scrims tonight apparently. So let's just go really quickly. We'll just go ahead and do Sentinel next, I suppose. If everybody has to go soon, anyways.
Yeah,
Okay, we got to
Yeah.
do.
yeah, we can go. We can do Sentinel last. I think. I mean, like obviously
Okay.
Sentinel is pretty easy league to go over real quick. I mean, there's only one undefeated team and there's only one good team in that league. So
All right, sounds good. Well, let's go ahead and jump over to Crusader then. Taking a look at what we have here. Of course, our results from the previous week. Your squad, Storm, looks like you did win out in the Civil War and a 2-0, no less.
It is tough just out here being the goats. yeah, going into this, we were all pretty hyped for it. Mustard and Striker have their own little internal thing of everyone else has like an opinion um, on who they think's better. Um, obviously, I think Striker's a very good player, obviously, but today was not the day apparently. Game 1,
Apparently not.
Mustard able to pick up the pentakill at the end of the game on the Jinx.
Ah, yeah.
Couple solo kills early game. Obviously we ran back Feldy's Morgana because for some reason people just refuse to not let this man not have this champion. It's illegal. You should probably stop doing it, but if you're gonna keep leaving it up, we're just gonna keep taking it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, us casters really love that Morgana.
Hey. Do
Oh
better
yeah,
than
I guess
draft prep,
Aspect.
man. I don't know.
Yeah, I got the cast that game.
Yeah. Let's hear
But
your thoughts on that. Or Storm, if you weren't finished. Sorry.
you're good. You can go.
Yeah,
What were your
so
thoughts?
as one of the two casters that casted that, I always didn't get to do a lot of talking since there was so much stuff happening with this Morgana jungle. So the color caster doesn't really get to talk much whenever Morgana's constantly doing some goofy things, and then if Storm's doing some goofy things on his roaming champions mid lane, they're just these power couples here. They might want to next time they do that to their sister team, they might want to take them out to dinner first. Honestly, just fill up.
Hear that, Storm? You know, buy him something nice, okay? You
I,
know,
I,
make
I'll,
make up for it.
I'll leak the draft prep right now. I don't even care.
Well, I also wanted to ask you, Storm, if there are any other matchups, any other results from this past week that you wanted to highlight for us.
Let's see. What was some good matchups?
Looks like almost all 2-0s again.
Yeah, going back to the couple teams I talked a little bit about last week, which I'm pretty sure are ones that I like highlighted. I thought were going to be good matchups, being that Bloom Gaming and Syndicate team.
Yeah.
Me and Naysayer both have the same opinion that this Bloom roster is like actually kind of nuts now. I think they're 100% going to win out and get a spot in this playoffs if they haven't already.
They haven't, locked their playoff spot, but they are now in position after picking up this win over Syndicate.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna spoil it for you. They definitely lock it. But this turns into is this Bloom just hitting their peak at the right time as Syndicate's faltering a bit. I personally think this Bloom roster just got a major upgrade in this last coming couple weeks with a couple roster additions they did.
Yeah.
Goon Squad also going to 2-3 games with Uncaged was another really surprising outcome for me. Watching some of those games, because I don't think they were streamed, but I want to say we watched just through like the regular spectator after our game because someone kind of got speed ran. Goon Squad has this really weird thing, and obviously they're our sister team. We talk with them a lot, where they just like can't get out of their own way, and they tend to do some really weird things, which causes them to just drop random games at teams they shouldn't. So I'm really hoping wrapping up into playoffs that they kind of get it figured out, because I think once they do, I want to say this is going to be another like top 4 team, if not top 2, if they really like get on a track and can follow through what they need to do.
Well, both the Goon Squad and the Bandits are locked for playoffs, so we will be seeing both of those teams in the postseason. Very exciting to look forward to. We go ahead and probably skip over these win screens since I know we're short on time. Let's go ahead and skip straight to next week's matchups. Storm, you're gonna be going up against what's this? The Snow Reapers, I guess, is going to be
Yeah.
your opponent. It's probably you're feeling pretty good heading into that one, I imagine.
We did a little bit of content the other day because we were bored and had some free time. We're playing Aurora Jungle apparently in lane
Ooh.
swapping Garen mid.
Okay.
Please play the
Thank
game
God.
normally.
Thank God, no more Morgana. Thank God.
Brave leaking the
No,
strats
that's
there.
what Reapers did last week. Please
Oh,
don't do
God.
that. It's really bad. Just I don't know. But I mean, we're definitely going to be experimenting a little bit, and that's not even because we're playing Reapers. This is purely we've locked first seed.
Yep.
The only people that can match our leaderboard standing would be teams we've already beat. So
Right.
we really don't have anything to really risk. Um, other than that, I think the closest matchup we're gonna see this week is probably going to be PSN versus Syndicate. Um, PSN has had a lot of unlucky games. I think that team's really close to just like figuring it out or getting out of their own way. The same issue with Goon Squad, where they put themselves in a winning position and then someone just fucks up at just the wrong time for certain games to just lose. It happened against Clown with the Smolder top game when Smolder just gets his full combo blown back on him by Melt Reflect. It happens in our game when Sivir just randomly gets Blitzcrank pulled at like 45 minutes and just insta dies. And so I think this
Kinda
is going to
do.
be a good matchup to see. One, is Syndicate really just kind of falling down the ladder, or is PSN going to get this thing figured out?
Will definitely be interesting to see. You know, Syndicate obviously, as you were just mentioning, did take the loss last week, 1-2 against Bloom. As the Poison Panthers ended up with their bye, that was their match that they were going to have against Contingent Esports Yellow, who of course are no longer in the league. So it was a week off for the Panthers. See if they're going to be ready to take on Syndicate this Tuesday, or no, it's going to be Thursday, Crusader or Wednesday. Oh my goodness, my days. Bear with me, guys. But we have some stats here as well. Take a quick look. This is going to be our streamed match for this upcoming week. It's going to be Clown Gaming Blood Moon going up against the Uncaged Bandits. And the Bandits, that's going to be your Week 8 opponent, your last opponent of the regular season, Storm. So
Yep.
anything on their side that you feel like is worth mentioning? I don't know if you've done any serious scouting for this team yet, but what are your thoughts here?
So I I know a lot of this Uncaged Bandits roster. Robust, or Dismal as I know him, is a pretty solid mid laner. I think he's a little weaker in his lane phase, but he makes up for it in being a really good side laner. And he plays a lot of just like basic control mages that are kind of hard to really bully out of their lane phase, like Talia, and he's even kind of went on a Jace mid trick for a little bit. But from what it's watching their games, this really feels like both top and mid are picking like kind of stable laners, and Siphon tends to get put on this weird champ where it's either you're having all the impact in the game or you're doing nothing. Like they went from she had a crazy like Zyra jungle game, and then the next game said, "Hey, you're playing Nunu." Um,
A little
that's
bit
a choice.
strange.
It's a weird
Yeah.
choice, but I think Valentere is also starting to show a lot of his higher form in AD, and that's why this team's starting to finally start picking up these wins. This is definitely going to also be the first test for Clown's new roster. Um, bringing in a new jungler I've never heard of, but he's a Kindred player, so Shun.
All right, yeah.
And then we'll
It's
see
gonna be
what
the first
Humor
week.
will spot mid.
Very interesting. Yeah, the Clown Gaming, of course, did pick up a 2-0 win over the Snow Reapers last week, whereas the Bandits did go down 1-2 versus New Origin Goon Squad. So we'll see if the Clowns' momentum is going to be stopped, if the Uncaged Bandits are going to be able to get up to 4 wins. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the standings now. Of course, for Sector 1, your squad Storm sitting up there at the top. Still a 0 in the losses column. Undefeated as well. And then everybody locked in the playoffs here, as of course the Snow Reapers and Contingent Yellow are not going to be making it to that postseason. So pretty standard stuff here. Who do you think is going to end up in 5th place, Storm? Your prediction for that?
My guess is it's probably going to be Uncaged, going off of just the next strength of schedule. I personally think PSN's going to beat Syndicate in this crossover. I just think PSN's shown a lot of why they're strong, and after playing against both teams, I have shown it in my power rankings I've made. I think the games we had to play against PSN were arguably harder than the games we had to play against Syndicate. Um, not saying that Syndicate can't flip this. It's kind of the issue. Rept is a pretty good laner, but he's 100% a coin flip. Sometimes this dude is going 0-7, sometimes he's 7-0. So I really just feel like it's going to depend just how each team shows up. I know
Yeah.
Syndicate also did add a couple different subs to their roster. So what they're planning on doing with them, I don't know. But my guess is these Sector 1 standings are going to stay pretty similar. The only way I think it changes a little bit is maybe if Clown drops this matchup into Uncaged, then we can see this kind of weird tie at like 4-3.
Yeah.
But other
It's
than that,
definitely it's definitely a tight race. Besides your own team up there at the top, between 2 and 5, it's very, very close over there in Sector 1. So we'll have to see how the playoffs do end up getting seeded. But we do have the Sector 2 standings as well, of course. Syndicate started to slip a little bit. I guess they've lost, obviously, the match in the previous week, and then they had lost that match to your team, Storm. I don't know if that was week 4 or week 5. But a couple of their more recent matches now, Syndicate has dropped. Elysium now at the top of Sector 2 at 5-1. And those last couple of playoff spots still up for grabs. OSG Arctic and Tilt Esports still both in the hunt. A little bit more difficult, obviously, for Tilt, as they're still sitting at only 1 win. What are your predictions here, Storm? Which teams do you think are not going to be making it into the playoffs for Sector 2?
so with Sector 2, I want to say this is just going to be what the standings are. Tilt has to play OTL and Bloom. I sorry, Tilt, I'm not giving you the win over Bloom in any world future I see. So that then becomes even harder. And then
Yeah.
OTL, depending on who what they end up figuring out with mid lane, I know they had to do another late roster addition due to someone's work schedule altering. But if I had to put my money where my mouth is on Sector 2, my guess is it's going to be Elysium first. I think Goon Squad's going to take their Week 8 matchup against Syndicate, which,
Mhm.
if they don't already go into second, will put them into second with a head-to-head at least.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I think OTL will end up dropping to 5, and then Bloom will end 4th.
All right. Yeah, definitely Bloom on that upwards trajectory. See if they are going to be able to take that 4th place spot. But it looks like we also have a clip for the Crusader League here, submitted by our friend Badger. Let's take a look at what we have here.
We got it.
I'm hitting his ears and there's something. His ear? They're dead. Nice.
Badger, you can see there, is the one piloting the Aurora in this one. Anything you guys want to comment on with this clip?
Yeah,
Haven't,
I don't know where what the world this Azir ult was trying to do. 'Cause I
Yeah,
really just feel like he
We got it.
ult Cherrie.
I'm hitting his ears and there's something. His ear? They're dead. Nice.
Like
that
we
did
got
kind of
it.
happen.
this, I mean, like this clip doesn't show, but at the end of this clip, they're both right next to Ezreal. All it's gonna take is this Darius to auto attack him once, then W, then R, and he's dead. Like, I don't know what their thought process there was. Maybe like Azir misplaces ulti, or like I don't know how Azir works. I'm not a mid laner, never claimed to be one. But yeah, I don't think shuffling a Darius into an Ezreal is relatively ever things that you should ever do.
To
Especially
be
when,
fair, that Azir ultimate did also finish off the Amumu. But I feel like you could have probably pushed, used the Azir ultimate in the other direction, still gotten the kill on the Amumu, and then you wouldn't have the very strong Darius on top of your Ezreal. But
Yeah.
at the very least, I think you can kind of see what the Azir was wanting to accomplish with that. Just maybe
Yeah.
some unintended side effects.
Yeah, I mean, like, sure, he got the Amumu bounty, right? But something about the fact that if Amumu was just dying to ulti, then Ezreal could probably snap some quick Qs, and it doesn't result in an ace. But because of this play, it probably results in an ace, and then immediate could probably just be an autocon take with a Darius and a Aurora.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Obviously, didn't see the game, but that's how I would view this as if I was in their position.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure they'll that one probably did get some time in review, no doubt. But Storm, I guess, are you able to stick around for Crusader, or do you have to head out now as well,
Um,
or for
I can
Sentinel
stick
rather?
around for a little bit longer. If my
Okay.
stream doesn't start on time, they'll be fine. They'll figure it out.
Let's go ahead and jump on over then into the Sentinel League.
Before
So
we
taking
leave,
a look. Oh,
before
go
we
ahead,
leave,
Aspect.
before we leave Crusader, I just want to mention, OTL Prometheus is easily gonna 2-0 Goon Squad. That like easy.
Ooh.
That is gonna be an easy 2-0, unless Uma ints it. If Uma does not int this game, OTL Prometheus should just be clean sailing, insta-lock playoffs after this game.
Well, Prometheus do have some momentum. They picked up, of course, the 2-0 last week as well. So both of those teams coming off a win. We'll see if the Outlaws can make it happen. I feel like that's another team that has been kind of ramping up over the course of the season. But it might be
Yeah.
tough against the Goon Squad. We'll see. We'll see.
I don't know. They're taking after their lower division team. Gonna start 2-0ing people from now on.
Well, anything else to cover, guys? Storm, did you want the last word? Anything else you wanted to add for Crusader?
Um, not really. I feel like Crusader's been pretty stagnant recently. No one wants to talk and chat anymore, no matter how
Oh,
much me and Naysayer try.
Yeah, it
Storm
seems like
wants you guys to shit talk him. Come on.
For
yeah,
real, bro. Call me Backpack, please.
it seems like most teams in Crusaders are just okay with where they're at and okay just not talking. So I don't think anything's major to change in that league.
Well, I guess we'll have to see about that as well. But now
Yeah.
I think we are ready to go ahead and move on to the Sentinel League. So taking a look at last week's results, your squad aspect,
Mm-hmm.
Sub-Zero, looks like, how'd you do last week? Is that you against Veracity, or is that you
Yeah,
that lost to the
OTL.
rivals?
OTL of Severe
Ah,
is my team. The
oh, oh,
the team that's never lost a game, never will lose a game.
that team. Oh, I think we have an inaccuracy on our podcast sheet. My apologies. But
No, that's
in
fine.
that case, it looks like you did pick up the 2-0. Very nice.
I mean, wasn't the first, won't be the last that we get up 2-0s. Was probably
Yeah.
our most convincing 2-0, honestly. I mean, besides game 2. Game 2, I'm gonna blame my team on that one. The game should not have gone that long. There's no way that a Scion should be sitting bot lane with an Anivia for 5 minutes without something happening across the map.
Mm. Yeah, that's right. I was casting this one. It's starting to come back to me a little bit.
Yep.
And you were on the set in game 1. That's right. That's right.
Yep. They gave
But
me and
before we get
JKR
to
one
those,
picks.
before we get to those win screens, were there any other results from the previous week here that you wanted to mention that you wanted to highlight?
So some of these results are like, I mean, some of these are like obvious, like this was gonna happen, but something about something about some don't want to get into too much drama, but Plasma Wolf's forfeiting first game and then losing the last one very convincingly. Plasma Wolf seems to just hit the point where their rosters can't maintain being around each other, so they just like fall down in power rankings and just keep going down. Maybe they might. I mean, sadly, they can't make it all the way down to 7th place, but they might make it to 6th place after this week. They
It
might.
certainly is possible. Yeah, that is the last playoff spot up for grabs over there in Sector 1 as Plasma Wolves currently in 5th, but Hydro Pump Blacktip right behind them. 1 win behind. So we'll have to see with these last couple of weeks if that does end up coming through. But it's something we were kind of briefly touching on earlier on in this episode as well, right? The fact that it is so important to have that good relationship with your team and to just have, a good camaraderie in that sense. But let's go ahead and jump over to the win screens now. And we'll come over to you for this for first thoughts, Storm. What's jumping out at you from game number 1?
Looking at game number 1, a lot of this is going to be my forever crutch. I hate when teams pick Xayah when there is no reason to pick Xayah.
Mhm.
Like, you're playing against a Nivea Lucian Milio? Like, yes, like, the Xayah ult's nice to get away from this Nocturne set dive, but in reality, you have a Braum. If you're having to play this double disengage, you're just never going to be able to walk forward and take a proactive fight. Um, it's
Yeah.
one of those things I've super kind of been down, especially even in my team when we want to play Xayah and we ask for it, is because I feel like this is just one of those AD carries to get like a ton of value out of. It has to be late picked, and it has to be picked into like true dive comms. But when you're going to play into something like a Nivea Lucian, who's just going to play middle ground with you constantly, and Lucian's just going to dash away from Root Caller, you lose a ton of value.
Yeah.
And going
I
off this, like the set just has really good avenues to disengage Xin Zhao, to disengage the Ornn, to then set up 4 Nocturne dives. Like overall, this is just a really solid draft from Obsidian, as well as piloting some pretty not easy to play combos in something like the Lucian Milio that we don't see a ton of in Sentinel.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Xayah did come out in response to the Nocturne, but I definitely hear you. You know, it's not really doesn't really end up being that effective. And then the Xayah Braum lane definitely ended up getting bullied by Lucian Melio during the laning phase pretty heavily. But Aspect, let's hear from you. You know, you had some gripes about what happened in game number 2, but I feel like the game number 1 was pretty clean, pretty easy for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty clean. I mean, like, obviously mentioning this draft, I mean, like, we can just give them Braum. Like, their name is Braum Lives Matter. Let's give them Braum, and then they either lock it and then give themselves a really bad matchup bot side, or they don't lock it and we call them names. And then obviously, like as Storm was pointing out, the set disengages. I mean, the amount of times the Xin Zhao came top to burn flash or burn my flash just for me to get out, it was absurd. Like
Yeah.
there's no reason you
Yeah.
should be ganking a set as Xin Zhao and burning your flash and still not getting a kill. Like if I'm this Ornn, I'm tilted because I'm like, if you're playing Ornn, you're not playing to win the lane, like you're playing to scale. Like that's how the Ornn set matchup should always work. Set,
Right.
great early game champion, will always be a great early game champion. Late game, he's gonna die. I mean, there's not much I can do. The only thing that I become is an ulti bot with the Ornn's fat head, which worked a lot also. Also, the Xayah pick, um, unless they're gonna press R to dodge a fully stacked Haymaker, probably shouldn't lock Xayah. That was like we lost the fight, but Xayah had to burn ulti just to not die to my W, which she didn't even do it. She panicked, hit it after she got one tapped. So I think Xayah should not have been locked that draft. I don't know what they had else in their pool because I don't handle any of the drafting. I just worry about winning topside, and then my team ints. That's my team's fault.
Of course, of course. Yeah, the Xayah definitely not ended up working out really at all in this one. And then your set ended up working out quite well. You did have the most damage in this game, as we can see. So well done there. But speaking of things not going maybe quite so well, we have our game number 2 win screen here as well. You were on the Scion this time around, which you know, we kind of felt like on the cast you might struggle a bit against the Kennen in the laning phase, but didn't really feel like he was able to pressure you that hard.
I mean, did we not see this guy start Cole first item in a
He
Scion
did
versus
start Cole, yeah.
like? Why are we starting Cole and Kennen into a Scion? Like, why are you building Cole to
Like
get
that's so
as
base.
yeah, he built Cole as Kennen and lost every early game trade.
Yeah, I
And
remember now. Yeah, you were actually the one pushing up that that lane for most of the game.
yeah,
He was
and
just
like
farming under his turret.
yeah, I mean like there's nothing he can do. Like the only point in the game where he was useful was whenever he finally got out of topside. And if I didn't take wrong runes because I was too busy lollygagging with my team because I was we like to lollygag since we don't feel like we're ever gonna lose a game. Which I mean, the only games we've lost was in scrims, and that was with a mid laner that is no longer with us for better
That's
or
right.
worse. Better. Uh, I mean, so I decided to take Conquer and didn't take Grasp and Demolish, and sign without Demolish while you're solo and lane kind of sucked because you can't really do much with this high health pool of turrets besides just tank it forever, I guess, which I don't really have a choice to tank it forever because half the time I was just bot side opposite of an objective to get 5 of them to jump on me. Like, cool, you spent 5 players bot side. We got a Baron and a every top objective whenever I was opposite side of the map. So I mean that's what we're really locking Sion for. Team needed a tank that was also AP since we had Echo, Vigar, Lulu. So we needed the AD tank, and Sion just fit that perfectly.
Yeah, definitely worked out pretty well for you. But you reminded me. I wanted to ask you as well. You had the new mid laner, right? The Lord JK was joining you this past week. So what was it
Yep.
like playing with JK? What does he bring to the table that you appreciate or don't appreciate?
So what he brings is the fact that he's my best friend.
Aw.
We've so in Slash Roll we were on opposite teams. He won season 3 on BDE, Big Duck Entourage. That's what BDE stands for, right?
Right, of course. Yeah, everybody should know that.
And we both didn't make all pro, but because a mid laner and both the top laners had decided that they wanted to go out and do something instead of playing us all pro event, we both got to be on a team together, and we worked really well. We started vibing. We started playing solo queue a lot together. We both climbed together. We've tried to get on many teams with each other, and the all pro team that we had season 3, we tried to play that season 4, and sadly that roster didn't work out because certain players could not play with certain players.
Hmm.
But me and JK are probably the best top jungle. I mean, the set and Nivea, that is a duo that we played so many times in solo queue because the wall, they can't run away from a showstopper. They can't run away from W. They can't get away a single time. And I mean, what are you gonna do if you're just getting E directly into a Nivea ulti and just sat there for 5 minutes? Like,
Yeah.
you're just gonna, I mean, they literally like half these times that we play like this game, like the game that we played in Nivea set, like the enemy team literally just had to twiddle their thumbs and beg for mercy as they're just getting their health bar eaten by a glacial storm.
Definitely makes sense. That's Set's biggest weakness is not being able to catch people, right? If Anivia's holding them in place for you, that could make your job a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
But Storm, anything you wanted to aspect about related to this match that he had last week against BLM?
I mean, not really. He's kind of covered most of their viewpoints of it. And the one thing I will say is Colon Kennen into Scion is unironically actually correct. There is never a world Kennen should ever kill Scion in lane unless Scion is playing like a moron. So what Kennen should be doing is taking Cole and just trying to beat his first item spikes faster than Scion can and playing that way. Because at the end of the day, if you're ever like really trying to chunk out Scion, he's just going to put an extra point or two in W, and then you never have kill threat again. So being able
Yeah.
to take Cole that will still gives you the same sustain in lane that D-Blade's going to give you, and then just play to hopefully hit your 2 items faster than Scion can, so that you have your team fight impact, is kind of all you need.
I
Yeah, I mean,
guess
it's definitely.
I
Go
guess
ahead,
that makes
Aspect.
sense. I guess that does make sense, but also like he really didn't do anything with the call that he could have done something way better with a D blade because at least he could do some kind of damage so that I couldn't just proxy farm him for 3 waves in a row because his jungler decided that ganking bot side was a great idea. Like the call literally did nothing in lane. Like even
That's the
like
whole
with the
point. You're not buying it for lane, brother. You're buying it for 15 minutes past lane.
yeah, but what's 15? Like by the time 15 minutes rolls around, I'm gonna have all these freaking free like stacks of my Soul Furnish, so he's not going to do damage anyways unless he builds a Bork or something.
Seems
Yeah,
like
I
a
mean,
issue. What it seems like.
yeah, AP Kennen, obviously, he's never going to be looking to target the Scion in the team fights. So, you know, I hear you, Storm, where he's just not really wanting to play for the lane at all. I feel like there is an argument where, you know, obviously he's not going to have much kill pressure on the Scion, if any at all. But you could still play for priority at least, right? If your team wanted to play around the grubs, you know, I feel like that could have been an option. And like Aspect said, you know, the eventual spike of the Kennen, you know, after the cull was completed, didn't really end up amounting to too much either. But perhaps that's just some results-based analysis that we
Yeah, I mean,
could
he got
see.
a. I mean, he got a Rockabout. Good for him. I had a Canic Rictorin and part of the what's the item? Unending Despair by the time he finally got his first item.
Yeah, you definitely were controlling that lane pretty nicely, Aspect. But let's go ahead now and move on to our upcoming matchups here in the Sentinel League. We're going to have your squad, your Week 7 matchup. Looks like it is going to be the Cross Division one against the Plasma Wolves. Very, very interesting. So you're going to have the opportunity, it looks like, Aspect, to see if you can knock the Plasma Wolves out of that playoff spot. What are your thoughts heading into that matchup?
I mean, I already guaranteed Hydro Black Tip that we were gonna 2-0 them. So
Oh, it was a solemn promise to Hydro Pump, huh?
I mean we two. I mean we 2-0'd Plasma Wolf's old roster, but I mean, no matter how many times you paint a car a different color, doesn't matter. It's still the same shitbox, which is what their team is. It's a shitbox.
It's an entirely new. How many players are new compared to the old roster? Do we know?
Probably, I think it's a defense. I think all but two.
Wow, so 3 out of 5 players are going to be different for Week 7 onwards, which is really insane. Definitely sounds like there was a bit of an implosion that happened there. You hate to see it, but the fact that they're, you know, a bunch of players that presumably have not been playing together for very long as well. I mean, what a first matchup going up against the undefeated team in the other sector. That's pretty brutal for them, and it definitely makes sense why you're feeling so confident heading into that one aspect. Any other
One.
matchups for this upcoming week that you feel like are worth mentioning?
I mean, I feel like, let's see. I feel like, okay, so TF versus Hydro Pump, Black Tip,
Hmm.
or Hydro Black Tip.
Yeah, yeah.
They need, this is a must win for Hydro, or for Black Tip. It
Right.
is a must win. TF doesn't, like, not to say to win trade this game, but TF's already
We
locked.
don't
They
get on
get,
that.
like, they're already locked. I mean, position's not really going to matter too much because they're not going to beat us and they're not going to beat uh whoever's first in their division by the time the dust settles. So just come on, just give Black Tip an in. Come on, just give them the in.
Oh, come on now, Aspect. Hydro Pump need to earn their playoff spot fair and square. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
I mean, true, but is Sector 1 or half of them even earning their wins, or are they frauds?
We've been told to not call people frauds,
Fine.
so we're gonna avoid that going forward. But let's go ahead and take a look at some stats now. Our streamed matchup for this upcoming week, we're gonna have Roar going up against New Origin Veracity. So this is a Sector 2 matchup. All of these playoff spots in Sector 2 are locked, as we're gonna see in just a moment here. This is a battle for 4th place, it looks like. So
Yeah.
taking a look at these stats, what do you feel like is noteworthy about these teams aspect?
So I got one game versus Roar, and I got 2 games versus Veracity. So I'm leaning more towards Veracity, especially because like they do have a little bit better stats in almost every category, except for the vision, which I mean, I think we have the worst vision out of all teams, except for teams that are no longer playing in the league. So, I mean, that's about the only thing that I see here that really sticks out to me that they are massively behind in. So maybe more words out of Veracity, and maybe that's a free win for them. But also, like, I feel like it's still going to be a pretty easy series for Veracity. Maybe it goes 2-1, but I'm sure it goes Veracity's way.
All right. Well, Storm, predicting aspect here, predicting one of your many sister teams to claim another victory up against Roar. How are you feeling looking at these stats?
I'm gonna have to agree with him. I just looking at the rosters, I think Veracity's a better team overall than RAR is the split. Obviously, I think the only real member they were able to retain was Feathers and Top from their last Sentinel roster. Um, and I knew they had at least the Sentinel MVP for support last split. And obviously, this roster struggled a bit throughout the season, and Veracity is kind of starting to pick up the pieces, and they're really trying to figure out right where they need to be. And I think this team has much better macro than RAR does from watching the games that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean,
That's how it feels in game two. That's how it feels in game two. Veracity was our first match that OTL 2-0, and it was still
Mhm.
it was probably second closest series. The closest series we had was Dropping Point because we didn't take them serious, which we definitely should have, and now we will. I think every team needs to take Dropping Point seriously, and Veracity. Like if you're not taking Veracity seriously as RAR, then probably going to be the 2-0 that I mentioned.
Yeah. Well, last week, Roar did pick up a 2-1 over Dropping Point Hellfire, whereas New Origin Veracity, of course, did lose out 0-2 in their match. So they're going to be looking to bounce back. As far as the last opponents in week number 8, dropping or New Origin Veracity is going to be going up against Hydropump Blacktip, so that's going to be really exciting. That's the cross division matchup. Is going to be happening in week number 8. Both of those teams, especially Hydropump, really going to be needing that win to get into a good place for the postseason. And then for the side of Roar, their week 8 matchup is going to be up against Braum Lives Matter, interestingly. So Roar definitely some some opponents in the last couple of weeks very close to them in the standings. So Roar definitely have their destiny in their own hands. But it sounds like you guys are expecting this matchup against New Origin to be a pretty difficult one. See if they're going to be able to rise to the occasion or not. Let's take a quick look at the standings as well. We do have our Sector 1 standings here. Previously mentioned, the very tight race right now down there towards the bottom for that last playoff spot. Hydropump needing to pick up some wins here in the last couple of weeks. Plasma Wolves, a little bit of a roster implosion. They're trying to hang on to that 5th place spot. Aspect, anything else here for the Sector 1 standings you wanted to touch on?
I mean, other than the fact that our rivals since week 1 said that this is the most competitive division and the most competitive side of the bracket, and that this team's going to be obviously better than everybody else in the whole league, and blah blah blah. What side has an undefeated team? What side has beaten Sector 2 teams or Sector 1 teams and gets to do it again with a different roster? That's what I gotta say about Sector 1.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the other sector that does have that undefeated team that you were just mentioning in passing there aspect. Here we have, of course, your squad up at the top, 6-0, and everybody locked in for the playoffs over here, except, of course, Dropping Point Hellfire and Contingent White that are out. Both of those squads down there at 0 wins. So, pretty, it's interesting. Definitely, a lot of people were saying that Sector 1 was stronger, but maybe what they really meant to say was Sector 1 was just like
Competitive.
more competitive. Yeah, it was like a closer race. It was between the teams that were over there as opposed to what we have over here in Sector 2. What are your thoughts on your own sector aspect? Any other teams that you feel like you have to look out for? You were just mentioning New Origin Veracity. You feel like was one of the closer matches that you've played this season.
Yeah, they were definitely probably. I mean, this was our first game playing with the squad. I had never played a single game with them, so there was a lot of disconnect. And I think now with our new roster, it'll be an easy, like not easy, but it would be a way closer game than it should have been the last time we faced each other, because they just controlled the whole entire map and we just let them. So it almost went 2-1 for us, but luckily we managed to pull it back after some well thought out team fights by just throwing caution to the way and just throwing abilities at their faces. And then Uba Awesome had a really bad start to the season with playing against me and didn't really get to show a lot, but since then he's really showed that he can be a center stone for Veracity.
Excellent. So definitely be exciting to see how the standings wrap up here in the Sentinel League. Then we have a clip as well to close out our discussion of Sentinel. This is going to be a Baron steal. This is, I believe, from your match this past week aspect.
Yep. We went crazy for this one.
It popped off in the comms. Yeah, I imagine. Base first to replenish the health and mana bars.
Latex isn't even in the area either, so I think this is just Baron over. There's something they can do, and I think that
It should be.
This is going to be
Oh,
too
look at that.
big of a wall.
They're hesitating though. They're
Yeah,
peeling
pretty,
off the Baron. They're back on
casual
it now. They're
steal
trying
there
to
for
burn it down,
Latex.
but
They didn't
that's
do
enough time for
you know, we were
Latex to get
talking
over
on the
here.
cast
The
a little
Echo
bit
is
about how we
in the
felt like there's
pit
a
and he
little bit
steals
more
the
maybe
Baron.
that BLM could have done to try to keep
Unbelievable.
Latex
He
out of the
just
pit
jumps
there.
in there and
But
steals
what
it
are your
away from
thoughts on
BLM
that
right
one, Storm?
underneath their nose.
I mean, Wukong doesn't even press smite.
Yeah, I mean,
It
it just
is
lost
definitely
flip.
a hard deal just because Echo can outburst you with that passive proc and the E auto to get that smite off. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to smite that, if you're gonna miss Baron, you're gonna hit a champion. But in that case, you're not even hitting a button. So it's a little unfortunate. But yeah, things like the Anivia wall could have kept them out. Kennen should just be standing on that as soon as he comes over and just rips the ult to stun him out. Things like that. But I mean, it's an unfortunate play for the side of BLM, just not setting up, not controlling parts of the map where they needed to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a well-timed smite from Latex. What was the comms like leading into that aspect? You know, you were just mentioning that you guys were all going crazy afterwards. I guess the call was probably always for him to just go in there to try to steal it, right?
Yeah, so this all started off the fact that they sent that I died solo to Anivia bot side by
That's
holding
right, yeah.
a wave for 5 minutes, expecting them to send numbers at me, but they decided that they wanted a Baron. And luckily I kept Anivia down there long enough for her to have to TP. So either if we didn't steal it, we still got a TP out of it. But Latex, from the moment that they started it, they was like, yeah, I'm gonna go for the steal, since the Echo is very safe at stealing and can do it
Yeah.
reliably.
Absolutely.
But JK lands an ability on them to make sure that it was in stealing range, and he went, and then it was just we honestly were expecting him to just straight up die and miss smite, because why would we think that he was going to be able to steal that with them all being ready to just like jump on him and steal it? Because they had the CC ready to CC him, but
Yeah.
they just didn't press their abilities fast enough because they weren't expecting it, and I don't think half of our teammates were, besides Latex.
Yeah,
They
they
just-
definitely didn't do their due diligence that time for the side of BLM. Aspect, any other final thoughts you have here on the Sentinel League before we get ready to close things out?
No. Just good luck to all the teams that still need their wins. We'll be waiting in playoffs for any team that thinks they can beat OTL.
Excellent, excellent. So now just time for some shout outs. Storm, any shout outs you want to share?
Shout out to my team, showing up every week, dealing with some wonky drafts, but kept mental cool, even in some of our hard games. Shout out New Origins, anyone that was able to hop into the stream over there. We had a pretty crazy prize pool for it. Don't know when we're gonna do it again, what the prize pool for that will be. So once we figure out some more information on that, we'll keep it posted and let everyone know. But other than that, that's all I've got.
Fantastic. Nice to hear from you again, Storm, and be exciting to see if you can keep that undefeated run going all the way to the end of the regular season. And then shout outs from you as well, Aspect, please.
So shout outs gotta go to my team. My team is the best 4 entries you can put on one team. It's perfect. It's just perfect. And then I'll gotta give shout outs to Poodle on TFF Chill Guys. Was our little cheerleader for our game versus Brown Lives Matter, because they got a free buy that week. And then shout outs to TD. They're doing well, and Complex owes me a best of 5. Yeah,
There you go.
Complex owes me a best of 5.
Hopefully we'll get that at some point as well. Appreciate the Poodle shout out, of course. We had her on last week. But that is going to do it for us here in the lounge. Thank you, everybody, very much for watching. The Arbiter League playoffs continue tomorrow night. Be sure to tune in for that one. And we will be rating the New Origin stream immediately after the lounge does conclude here. So thank you, everybody, again, very much for watching. For myself and everybody here at the LXC, we'll see you next time. Have a great night.